Look, LMS Tactical has awesome information and great videos, but he has a very foul mouth. There's terrible language in this video, so don't be stupid and watch it if you're going to be offended. Go watch Honey Boo Boo or some other stupid video. You've been warned.
Well, greetings YouTube, LMS Tactical here. I hope you guys are doing well as we get into December and Christmas and the New Year's and all that. I want to talk a little bit about the opioid situation in this country. And for those of you that unless you've been completely on a news blackout, you know that the quote-unquote opioid crisis is a top agenda for both each state, the White House now, I think it's the CDC, and law enforcement, the whole bit, the medical community. It's a crisis. Everybody's dying from opioids. Now, if you are not somehow directly involved with pain, chronic pain, and a continual user of opioids, this video probably won't mean much to you. But if you came onto this video because of the title and you are managing your pain the best way you can, then this is a topic that you're probably very interested in. And I'm going to tell you at the outset that I don't have solutions, but I want to talk about it all the same, because I think that we're going to have to do something as a society to figure out what we're going to do in terms of this overreaction. And what do I mean by that? Let's give a little bit of background here. Okay, for those that don't know me, I am a medically retired Los Angeles police officer. I've had, my last surgery was my 33rd surgery. I've got rods in my, a rod from my knee to my ankle, 10 screws in the tibia, 4 in the knee, titanium plate in the neck, 6 screws in the neck, wire mesh in the left side of my body, on and so forth and so on. So I've been injured both on duty as well as off, and yeah. So that's my situation. I know my way around pain. I mean, if the doctors these days, they'll tell you what's your pain level on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being, I can't function at all. On my very best day, I'm at a 6. That's how I operate. I have no independent memory of being pain-free. That's not crying. This is just to illustrate to you what I and people like me deal with on a daily basis. Now, what happens is, okay, I'm 6'4", 245 pounds as of this morning. I kind of fluctuate between 240, 245. So I'm not a small guy. My injuries that pertain to this conversation are my neck and back. Now, I've got other injuries and shoulders and blown out knees. I've had 8 surgeries on my left knee. You name it. So all of this adds up to chronic pain, and the way that I've opted to treat that, following doctor's orders for many, many years, is through a very controlled use of narcotics, which in my case is hydrocodone. So I mean, there was a time when I was taking 6 a day, and that was great because you do build up a tolerance, but it got me going, and I do worry about my liver, so I do liver scrubs and blah blah blah. About every few months, about every 6 months actually. It's kind of expensive, but I try to take care of myself in other ways. I'm not thrilled that I'm dependent, and there is a difference between addiction and dependence, and we may or may not talk about that in a second. But to the untrained public, they think that everybody's addicted and addiction is a bad thing. Here's the situation. What's going on with this thing? I just saw my light flash. I'd hate to do this video and find out I'm not recording. That'd be so typical. But, yeah. The options for me right now are to... What the fuck is going on with this thing? Why is it flashing? It was flashing because my memory was completely screwed up on this phone, and that was like 2 days ago. So here I am 2 days later. I emptied out my phone, and I'm dressed like this because I was on my way to go shooting with a buddy, but the plans changed. We're going to do this Thursday. So anyways, I want to finish this video so I can get it up, so to speak. And now it's kind of hard to get back into the flow, but I was talking about opioids. And look, the problem is really clear to those of us who are dealing with it. And it's a bitch. There's just no other way to say it. Basically, what's gone on is, because of a number of things, not the least of which was some illicit activity that I think took place in Florida, where a bunch of doctors were just handing this shit out like candy in Pez dispensers. And, anybody that said their back hurt was getting, 5 million Vicodin or Oxycontin or whatever. And they were out selling them on the streets and blah, 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 blah. And so a lot of doctors lost their license, rightfully so, and so on and so forth. That's all good and well. But that has nothing to do with people that are legitimately using these narcotics as they were designed to be used, myself included. So then you started hearing about all these deaths that were related to opioids. And the reality is, the people that are dying from opioid use are not using it correctly. 9 out of 10 times, they're not even legitimate chronic pain people. These are people that got into their grandmother's or their mother's Vicodin, or they bullshitted their way to get into a prescription. And then they started doing really weird shit, like grinding it up and snorting it. This is the kind of shit that goes on. And heroin is an opioid. So what happens is, when doctors kick people off of their prescription, they end up going to heroin, which is cheaper, I understand. And I think it's a little bit more lethal. I mean, I've as an ex-cop, I've seen a lot of dead people with needles in their arms. I can't remember seeing somebody that took their prescriptions legitimately and ended up dying. But we're all racked into the same basket now of deplorables. So what you end up with is, I don't know how many thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of people who depend on these narcotics to get them through the day. And doctors now are in fear of losing their license because I can't remember if it was the CDC or whoever puts these restrictions out. They basically put out something to all the medical community which said that they wanted them to come up with guidelines. And the way that was interpreted was, you need to cut this shit down. And doctors were seeing other doctors get in trouble for doing the right or wrong thing, or being taken advantage of. Who knows? Unscrupulous patients. I don't know. And slowly but surely, doctors started opting out of the system. Hey man, they were telling their paying people, hey look, we're going to cut you down. And we're just going to stop doling out opioids. Period. That's great. But here's the problem with that. And this is what I used to tell, because right now I'm going through the VA, which, they're under a lot of pressure too. I remember when I first, and this is before the VA, when I was first going to my pain management doctors because of my neck and back and all this other bullshit, chronic pain I got going on. Like I said, I got all these issues. So I remember they implemented this program where you would have random P test. And I used to, when I was in the military, they did random P tests to see if you were using any kind of narcotics, and then you were booted out of the military. Here it is, and it's actually kind of a good idea, I think, which is they do these P tests to verify that you're taking your prescriptions and not outselling them. So that was the kind of the beginning of it, that I saw that it was kind of odd and weird. And then it was, my doctor started telling me, hey, we're going to cut you down and we're going to taper you off. That's the key sentence now. We're going to taper you off. That's great, because I don't want to take chemicals. I don't want to fuck up my liver. I don't want to screw up my body. I'm all about tapering down and quitting. But my question always was, that never could be answered, was, then what? And let me just put it to you in layman's terms, because I'm a layman. If I've been functioning on a prescribed opioid, hydrocodone, and life is good for me, and I do it responsibly, and I'm mobile, and I can go out and do things, and you take that away, rendering me unable to walk. And I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but those of you with blown out disc and herniated disc and shit and metal in your body, you know that that's not an exaggeration. I'll get to that in a second. But if you're going to render me immobile, two questions. One, what is the replacement? And there is none. You know, they always want to do surgery on you. And I've had 33 surgeries. I mean, a guy my size does not do well statistically with back surgery, and I'm not going to take that risk. That would put me in a wheelchair if I got even a degree worse than I am, I wouldn't be able to walk. So the other thing is, okay, so yeah, surgery, or the question is, what's the alternative? And then the other question I had was, a more important one was, if you're gonna prescribe these to me, get me dependent on them for years and years and years, and then take them away, what the fuck did you ever prescribe them to me for to begin with? Now here's what you get from doctors. This was never designed to be a long-term solution. This is a short-term, post-surgery kind of a solution. That's bullshit. That's bullshit because that's not how it was prescribed. Now, let's get into my own personal situation. If I was to completely go off of this shit now, I told you I operate at a 6, 10 being I can't walk. If I was to go off of this shit right this second, and about a couple days after I went through my withdrawals and laid around shitting and pissing like a fucking junkie, because that's what happens when you just stop this stuff, and I could tell you horror stories. You know what? I'd be sitting in a freaking bed for the rest of my life. That's just the way it is. And people say, well, you know, it's not good for your liver, it's not good for your body. And I have said this, and this is my mantra, and people that are in my situation will relate to this. I would rather live 10 years and be mobile and able to function than 30 years in a fucking wheelchair or a bed. That's just me. That's my choice. And I don't see any good argument against that. But the doctors are scared shitless, and guess who's suffering? There are people committing suicide daily because they can't cope with their fucking pain. It's a travesty. It really is. And I'm pretty upset about it because not just for my own situation. Right now things are okay with me. I mean, I can see that the doctors are, when you turn on the news, all you hear is opioid crisis. Oh, we got to stop the opioid. We got to stop the opioids. We got to stop the opioids. They're talking about, or they should be talking about, the people that are abusing it, just like any other thing. Why don't you stop selling alcohol before you start fucking with the one thing that keeps me mobile? Okay? I get out of bed. Here's my typical day. I get out of bed and I fucking walk like an old man, and I take my little opioid like a little drug addict, and I swallow my fucking pill, and in about 15 minutes I'm standing up just like I am right now, and I'm good to go. And I can get by on 4 a day. Now, I knew guys, good friend of mine, came back from Afghanistan all fucked up. This guy was taking 12 at a time. There's, that's his choice. That ain't good. And if you're watching this, you know who you are. Love you, man. But that's just wrong. So here we are, man. We got a whole segment of society, my injuries were sustained trying to fucking defend and protect people. And I was told that I was going to be taken care of for the rest of my life. And now I'm being treated like a fucking criminal because I followed doctor's orders. Now, talking about withdrawals. The last time was the 4th time, and this shit's hard on a body. I'm 55 years old. This is not easy on anybody, but let me tell you, the older you get, the more fucked up it is. The last time was the 4th time that through either clerical shit, screw-ups, missed whatever, I got cut off completely, and I had to go through hoops, literally jump through hoops in order to get the shit started again. By that time, I'm, strapped to the toilet in agony. I mean, this is, it sounds funny, but it's ungodly. Every molecule in your body lights up like a lightning bolt in pain. And, that's how they're taking care of us. Do I feel like, does it sound like I'm crying? Good. I am crying. I think it's fucked up. I don't know where it's going to end. I think people, we need to come up with some solutions. We need to start freaking showing up at freaking our representatives' offices and saying, hey man, don't fucking, you need to put a caveat in whatever rules and regulations and laws you're writing, and leave the people that are legitimate alone. Why would you want to, if the overall goal is to help people, if that's the true goal, then why would you want to fuck up people that have done nothing wrong? This is not just me. This is doctors, businessmen, fucking you name it. People in all walks of life that have hurt themselves, whether in the military, firefighters. I can tell you, I am in contact with law enforcement and firefighters, retired, medically retired guys through a group I belong to, and it's horrendous, man. People are literally being just told, "Hey, man, fuck you. You're off of this. You're off of the program." And I mean, if you're not in this position, you can't understand how freaking terrible this is. If you are in the position, I don't know what we're going to do, folks. I really don't. But something's got to happen because they're messing with the wrong people, you know? I mean, all we're guilty of is getting hurt. You know? Sorry. I don't know, man. Like I said, it's kind of hard to take on a video 2 days later. But anyways, that's my rant. For all you people that are suffering chronic pain, man, throw your ideas out, man. Maybe, you know, I'm not saying that I got direct contacts to the White House, but I'm a pretty resourceful guy, and if I get the right ideas, I can make shit happen because that's just how I roll. And in the meantime, I hope you guys are feeling good. Those of you who are suffering like this, you know, that was the other thing. When the people that are getting cut off, you've got legitimate people, ex-cops, firefighters, nurses, all teachers, everything that are getting cut off. And you know what they're doing? They're being forced out and behind 7-Eleven buying fucking illegal drugs, either prescription pills that are being sold illegally or moving on to dangerous shit like heroin, which comes in different doses, just depending on who makes it. And that's why these guys are dying. So, I don't know. I'm upset. But anyways, I hope you guys are doing good. For all my regular followers, thank you for bearing with me on this. This is just an issue that had to get out. It's out. I love you. LMS Tactical. Stay safe.